Hello and welcome to Dressmaking Amore. Today I want to share with you how to sew this beautifully romantic ruffled top. With the prettiest ruffles all over, this Effie top is inspired by all things romantic and airy. So it has this cloud-like loose fit that's cinched in with a comfy elastic at the elegant on or off shoulder neckline, as well as the waist and the petal-like sleeves. Of course, we'll be using my Effie top PDF sewing pattern, so to follow along, get yours at the link below in the description and use this code on the screen for 50% off the pattern for the first 24 hours. Here are the materials you'll need. And please refer to your instructional booklet that comes with your pattern to choose your right size and print and assemble the pattern perfectly, as well as follow the cutting instructions, and all the steps for the whole sewing process for the top are in there. Here's a quick visual guide on how to put together your printed pattern. The letters in the top left corners indicate the rows, and the numbers indicate the columns. The circles in the corners will help you match the pages, and cut the pages according to the frame to assemble the pattern, and only then cut the pieces out. For this example, I'm using a cream satin wash chiffon fabric. It's airy and light for a romantic feel, and I've also used a lightweight cotton for a more structured look. Our pattern pieces are the front, back, sleeves, and the ruffle collar. Okay, let's get to sewing. As we're going to use French seams here, place the front and back wrong sides together and pin the side seams. If you want to use a serger seam, place them right sides together. Do the same with the sleeves, and repeat for the ruffle collar as well. With seam allowances of 5 to 6 millimeters or 1/4 inch, sew what we pinned at the blouse, sleeves, and the ruffle collar. Trim the seam allowances almost in half so that they are about 3 to 4 millimeters or 1/8 inch. Press the seam allowances to one side, then fold right sides together and press right on the edge with the seam allowances inside. Now you can either base stitch or just pin together at a right angle to the stitched line. And then machine stitch 6 millimeters from the edge so that no fabric threads are showing from the right side. Press the seam in one direction, take out your basting stitch if used. I like to press towards the back. And in the same way, sew all of the seams of the bodice and the sleeve. This is our bodice, front, and back. The back armhole has notches, and the front armhole for this size is shorter, so it's easier to identify. Choose the correct sleeve for the armhole, looking to match the notches, and pin the sleeve into the armhole wrong sides together. So I'm going to flip both pieces out to the wrong side so that I can pin easier, matching the side seams. Now sew with 6 millimeter seam allowances or 1/4 inch, slowly and carefully, making sure not to stretch the edge while sewing. Then trim in half. Press the seam allowances to one side. This will help us sew an even enclosed seam. And place it right sides together and press the armhole seam again and pin all around. Sew again 5 to 6 millimeters or 1/4 inch from the edge. And here's what it looks like. Press the finished seam and enjoy your beautiful result. Now it's important to mark the centers and the quarters on the ruffle and on the bodice. Place the right side of the ruffle to the wrong side of the blouse along the neckline edge, matching the centers and the quarter marks, and pin in between. Like so. Make sure there's no gathering or puckering on any side. Sew the edges together with 6 millimeter or 1/4 inch seam allowances. Then take your bias tape and double fold one end towards the wrong side and sew it down. Don't unfold your bias tape. Trim the threads to clean it up. And place the bias tape over the neckline seam allowances with the blouse bodice under the ruffle. Edge stitch the bias tape from the right side of the bias so that it covers the neckline seam like this. The bias tape will also serve as an elastic casing here. Cut the bias tape when you reach the starting point and fold the raw end underneath the bias, and so. The ends should meet but not overlap, and then finish the seam like this. Press the bias towards the blouse, and then pin the free bias edge to the blouse. It's all going to look very neat and clean with no exposed seams on our garment. So now we can edge stitch the other side of the bias tape. Like this, we have created the casing for our elastic. With a safety pin, insert your elastic into the casing. And the chart with the suggested length for your elastic can be found on page 10 of the instructional booklet. But you want to try the blouse on, checking the elastic for a comfortable length and adjust if needed. Then sew the ends of the elastic together. Hang the blouse so that the ruffle will relax for a while, and the ruffle may become uneven because some threads are unbiased while others are straight since the pattern is a circle for this ruffle. And if you don't like that effect, now is the time to fix it. Mark the shortest length of the ruffle all around from the top edge of the ruffle to the bottom, and then trim the excess of the fabric to make it even. To hem the ruffle, first stay stitch it 5 to 6 millimeters, 1/4 inch from the edge. Then fold the ruffle edge the same 5 to 6 millimeters in towards the wrong side, following the stay stitch as a guideline, and sew 1 millimeter from the edge. Then take your best, sharpest scissors and trim the seam allowances as close as you can to the seam. Turn the seam over to the wrong side and slowly stitch directly into the first stitches. Press again to really melt the stitches into place, and our narrow baby hem is done. Finish the hem of the blouse and the sleeves in the same way. Now, mark the placement for the elastic casing on the wrong side of the bodice, 12 to 15 centimeters, 4.5 to 6 inches up from the hem. Pin the bias tape to the marked line like so, wrong side to wrong side. Once you reach the starting point, fold the ends of the casing to the wrong side, and you can leave space in between the ends of the bias tape, or they can meet, but they should not overlap each other. Do the same for the sleeve elastic casing. First, sew the ends to secure them. Then, starting from that point, edge stitch the bias tape from both sides. Like this. The ends should not overlap. Insert the elastic. Safety pins are attached to each end of the elastic so that you don't lose it, and pull it all through. Try it on to choose your level of comfort with the elastic, shortening it if needed. And then sew the ends of the elastic together, hiding them in your casing. I wanted to show you my second version of the Effie top that I made from a lightweight cotton, since I used some different sewing techniques here. The hem, along with other seams, was made with a serger, so it's done much quicker. The elastic was sewn right into the sleeve and the waist on the machine with a straight stitch while it was stretched. The back of the neckline, as you can see here, was marked with a colored thread. And as for the ruffle, I sewed it right side towards the wrong side of the blouse. sewed with 1.5 centimeter or 5/8 of an inch seam allowances, then serge the edge and press the seam allowances towards the blouse, and then stitch it again 1/2 inch from the seam allowances to make the casing. I left an opening so that I can insert the elastic, and in this way we have a clean wrong side and the seam is hidden under the ruffle. So this blouse took only a few hours from start to finish. Here's a bonus trick to make sure your sleeve stays fluffed in place, if you're using a not see-through fabric, that is. Flip out the blouse to the wrong side and measure the distance from the neckline to the sleeve elastic. For me it's 32 centimeters here, or 12.5 inches. Take out 5 centimeters or 2 inches, so cutting 2 pieces of ribbon to 27 centimeters or 10.5 inches. Pin to the neckline casing and the sleeve elastic with the ends of the ribbon folded for a clean finish. Check on the right side if you like how it looks, and then hand stitch the ribbon in place. So this support ribbon will help hold the shape of your sleeve. And of course, giving your entire garment a finishing press like always, we are done with our romantic Effie top. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new and inspired you to sew this lovely piece yourself. I know you'll love it. You can get the PDF downloadable sewing pattern that I used below at the link in the description of this video, and happy sewing!